All right, welcome back everyone to the Kingdom Authors Ignite Your Message workshop. So you can see I have a little bit of a different background. That's to accommodate today's lesson. But before we jump into that, I would just like to hear some feedback on yesterday. If you guys got any comments or questions about what we talked about yesterday, which was the triple threat.
This is Leslie. I thought it was great. And I was very upset that I missed the session because what it did for me was it focused, like I was able to say, okay, I need, who is my audience? What really is in my heart that I want for that audience? What is it I really need to hear? Then I like the approaches, different approaches that we could use with regards to, okay, can it be a workbook? Then is it fiction or non-fiction? And then, okay, even the part about the lyrics, because the Lord speaks to me a lot about lyrics, and just be able to hone in to say, okay, this is my message. This is what I think people want to hear. Based on my experience, what did I go through that the Lord, based on what I've gotten breakthrough and healing in? Because I believe that's what the Lord wants me to write about. And so I just thought it was fun. I thought it was good. I
Oh,
enjoyed it.
good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
Good enough. I played it back again this morning to see if I missed anything.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
good,
did make note of some things. So
good, good. Yeah, these are things that I've learned over the years and I've implemented, and they really do make a difference. They bring clarity and some focus, and that's really important. All right. Well, so today is one of my fun day because I think it's fun. I like these exercises and I think they're fun. I moved to another spot to be able to talk to you about today's lessons. So today we're going to talk about content planning. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint and just go over a few slides first. Content planning. It's really important to determine your content and not just fly by night, throw stuff together. I mean, that may work to some degree, but if you can really hone in on your content, you're going to have a better book. The first one is mind mapping, this is pillar number 5, and what is it? It's brain dumping. Okay. It's getting those thoughts that are in your head down on paper or wherever you want to store them, but out of your brain. Just going to back up a moment here. I talked about yesterday about how can you stand out with your book. Well, one of the ways that I stand out with my business, as I said, is I help Christian nonfiction authors, not just nonfiction authors. So that's narrowing my audience down. But something else that I stand out with is this teaching right here. So I get to dispel another myth today. At least it's a myth, in my opinion, and there's proof that it works. And that is, I would probably say the majority of coaches for authors teach that the first thing you need to do for your book is to outline it. And I respectfully disagree, because you cannot outline something if you don't know what you want to put in it. So they're either trying to combine 2 steps into one, or they're putting the cart before the horse, because you have to do your mind mapping or some sort of brain dumping to come up with all the content that you want to put in your book in the first place. And I'll get more into outlining after this, but we're going to focus on mind mapping right now for pillar number 5. And here's some of the benefits. When you write something down, it can spark another idea. And I'm going to encourage you to do the old-fashioned way of writing, because I'm no whatever, I don't know, psychologist or scientist or whatever you would need to be to know this, but just some of the things that I have read, the hand-eye coordination thing sparks sparks a part of the brain that triggers creativity and memory and such, which is the next point. It can trigger memories. When we type something on a computer, it's not to say it can't, but there's something about that hand-eye coordination when you write that's a little bit different. And at any rate, somehow, even if you type them up, you're gonna get some more inspiration. Because as you start putting stuff down, as you're writing something, all of a sudden you're gonna that one word or something is gonna spark another word in your mind or another memory in your mind, and it just keeps going. If you don't ever write your thoughts down, then they're just all cluttered up in there, and you're going to start writing your book, and you can forget things because they're all muddled up together inside your brain. Brain dumping clears your brain to be able to get more ideas in. And we kind of talked about that a little bit yesterday. And this is a great idea for like you, Denise, and you, Susan, who said that you feel like you have lots of different books you could write. This mind mapping technique, and when I show you what you can do and how you can use it, can really help you come up with your book ideas. And another thing that it can do is it can spark multiple book ideas. I have a mind map started just for book ideas. You know, I have the heading is book ideas, and anytime I have an idea for a book, I write it down. I may never write that book, but then I might, and I don't want to forget about it. And so I've now taken it out of my brain, so it's not taking up what little space I have left up there. And I'm putting it down in my mind map. And so if I ever want to go back and say, okay, I want to write a book, what should I write about, Lord? And pull out my mind map, and I got all these book ideas. He can show me or give me a completely different idea. It's really important to get those thoughts out of your head. And there are different styles of mind mapping. And I'm just going to go through those quickly, and then I'll show you them. One is to use mind map apps. So you can download some apps on your computer or phone and use mind map apps. My husband likes to do that. Just good old-fashioned pen and paper, Post-it notes, and 3x5 cards. Yes, people do still use 3x5 cards. All right. So first, let's start with the 3x5 cards. So this isn't an actual 3x5 card, but it's representative of it. And how people like to use these for their mind map is they'll write down whatever thought they have, and then they'll, take the next card. And they like to then, once they're all done and they think they've written out everything that they can think of, they'll spread them out like on a kitchen table or something, and they'll start putting in order, like, okay, these are like items and these are like items, and they'll start making columns of like items with those 3x5 cards. The mind mapping apps, except there's all kinds of mind mapping apps out there. If you are someone that loves to work on the computer and that is your preferred way of doing it, there's free apps out there. There's paid apps out there, and there are benefits to all of them, or different features to all of them. So I'll leave that up to you if that is the route you want to go. I'm going to focus on two of them today, and that is Post-it notes and the pen and paper. Okay. So first I want to start with the Post-it notes. All right. So I'm going to pull up my map, and I got a whiteboard behind me. All right. So here's the way that people like to use Post-it notes. And I'm just going to tell you right up front, I don't like to use Post-it notes for mind mapping for a couple reasons. One, I'm cheap. I don't like to waste Post-it notes because you have one thought per Post-it note. And I'll just show you quickly. I can't find the very first mind map I ever did. It is somewhere here, but I'm really bummed because I can't find it. I wanted to show it to you. It is there's no white space on my paper, but here's another one that I did, and you can see it's pretty cluttered. Well, if I had to do Post-it notes for all those, I'd go through a lot of Post-it notes, and I'm too cheap to do that. So that's one reason. But another very important reason is because if you've ever used Post-it notes, you know that they can fall down. They can fall down. You can walk by and you accidentally rub it off or something, and there's your thought gone. Ooh, it's gone. It might fall behind a desk or dresser or wherever you're doing it, and that thought is gone. And if you don't think of it again, you're missing it. You've got a missing piece of your puzzle. So that's one big reason why I don't like to use Post-it notes, but a lot of people do. And I'm not going to tell you not to use them. Those are just my preferences. Okay. All right. So we'll get you going here, Leslie. All right. So here's one way they like to do it. So one thought per Post-it note. So I'm gonna, for today's purposes, I'm going to pretend I'm gonna write a book on crafts, and I'm gonna write a craft book. Okay. So you can do this lots of different ways. You can color code your Post-it notes if you want to be that organized. Otherwise, just start pulling Post-it notes off and write them. All right, so what might I need? I might need scissors, right? And oh, I want to do a craft on how to make a pine cone Christmas tree. I also want to decorate a candle holder. Okay. And I'm going to make some wreaths. And I'm going to do something for the 4th of July. I want to do seasons or holidays. Okay, so something for 4th of July. Oh, I might need a hot glue gun. That's probably one of the things that I'm going to have to put in the book. We'll make some snowmen for winter, some baskets, maybe Easter baskets or something, who knows. Some wood projects. Maybe gonna work with clay. And Christmas, another holiday. Might have seasons, write down seasons on each one, summer, winter, fall, spring, whatever. And you can just throw them up on a wall or whatever. Then what you do, or if you want to be super organized, if you're one of these people like that right now that this is driving you crazy, what I just did, you can be super organized and you can organize these as you throw these on the wall. Okay, so I'm going to create columns. My first column is going to be supplies and tools that I might need. Okay, well, we got scissors, clay, maybe. That's not necessarily a tool, it's a medium, but you could put them in the same category. Hot glue gun, wood. All right, so what kind of projects do I want to make? That I want to do the tree, I want to do the candle holder, snowmen, and baskets. All right. Oh, and maybe some wreaths. All right, I got a couple of holidays up here. I'll put all my holidays in one column and so forth. So that's one way to use Post-it notes. You just, like I said, however you want to do it. You can write one down and you can be organized. You can do this on a wall. You can do it, wherever, and just put them in their columns right away, or just throw them up and be done, and then go back and organize them later. All right. So that's one way to use Post-it notes. All right. So I'm going to take these down and won't. Any questions on the Post-it notes or comments on using Post-it notes? All right. So the next way is to use pen and paper, and there's lots of different ways to use pen and paper. If you are someone that likes to be super organized, again, you could just take like an 8.5 by 11 or a legal pad, one of those yellow or white legal pads, and just start writing a list. Are you guys able to see this? Okay. So you could just make a list, and I can maybe hold this a little closer for this. All right. Another thing you can do is you could have a piece of paper, and instead of just like a running list, you could have columns. And like for my crafts, I could do, in the middle, I could write the word crafts. And over here, I've got seasons. And then maybe I have a column for holidays. Oh, my pen's not writing very good. Well, and then make a list of holidays. Over here might be supplies. Not holding this right. Okay, and so on. You can just start making some columns. So that is one way of doing that. Or like I said, you can just have a running list too. Now, the one way that I like to do it, because for me it's fun, and that is I have a circle in the middle, and this is my topic. Okay, so my topic is crafts. Okay, and then as I start to think of something, I'll just draw a line and say, and I'll start writing down whatever my thoughts are. Seasons, holidays, and I want to do a snowman, and I know I want to do wreaths. I know, and they're going to need a scissors, and so forth, right? And you just keep adding as they come to you. Now, however you choose to do it, what I want to recommend is, if a thought comes to your mind, to add it to your mind map, whether you think you're going to use it or not, whether you think it applies or not. And here's why: because you just might. As you're writing, things might start to change. We can go into writing a book and have it all pre-planned in our brain because we think we know what we're going to do, and God might say, yeah, no. And give you a whole nother idea. Holy Spirit will just download something else, and something you just put on your mind map, that you didn't think you were going to use, now you're going to use. Also, put it on there because it might come into play or spark an idea for another book. And if you end up never using it, what did you lose? A split second for writing it down? I'd rather have you write way too much down than not enough. So anytime something comes to your mind as you're maybe thinking about your book, and all of a sudden this idea comes, write it down. Now, if you're out driving around like Leslie is right now, don't stop and write. Don't write while you're driving, okay? But here's another reason why I like to do it like this. And that's because, for me personally anyways, I think it's fun. But the other thing is, I'm the type of person that at times I like to be very organized, and at other times I like to just go with the flow, just do it, do whatever. And I feel like I have more liberty when I'm just randomly writing stuff down. If I'm trying to be organized, then I feel like I'm thinking too much. And I don't want you to overthink to the point where you're actually blocking your thoughts, because that's possible, where you're thinking so hard about what do I want? What do I want? When you're first starting your mind map, stuff should just flow right out of you. There should be things that just flow right out of you. And then as you start to get it filled up, but you feel like there's more, let it sit for a day or two or however long, and more stuff will come to you. When I started using this paper, this is how I've been doing my mind maps, but I kept misplacing them. So here's something that I recommend you do. I do this initial mind map, right? And then you saw what I did with the Post-it notes. I started organizing them. With this style, what you do is you create another mind map like this, and it'll be, you would say, what I would call secondary mind maps. So these are your secondary mind maps. Now you're going to pull out like items to help you create chapter ideas. So I'm going to create another mind map, and this might be supplies. Okay. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do a chapter that's just talking about all the different supplies, or am I going to do what I do? Each project just tells you what supplies you need. Am I going to put in the front of the book before you start? These are the, I don't know. But to pull out like items, that's where I can now just start doing that. And, another one would be, like maybe I want to start one for seasons. There's Christmas, there's New Year's, there's Easter, there's 4th of July, there's Labor Day, Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, whatever. So, you could do all kinds of crafts for all those different holidays. So that could be one mind map of itself. And then, that might be a chapter in your book. I do my initial mind map, then I start pulling like ideas out to create secondary mind maps. And those secondary mind maps are now developing into chapter ideas. You're collecting your thoughts more and more. Now you've dumped everything out of your brain to clear space. And now you're trying to organize your thoughts a little bit. You start with your mind map, get those thoughts out of your head, and then organize them into chapter ideas before you even start an outline. Create secondary mind maps to start chapter ideas, because here's what's happened. You brain dumped everything that you could possibly think to brain dump, right? Now you're creating your secondary mind maps. Guess what happens when you start creating those chapter mind maps? You get even more ideas. You thought you had it all right here? Nope. When you start doing your chapter mind maps, you start getting even more ideas. So don't skip that step, because you're going to get even more ideas that come to you. And just because, as I said before, all these ideas come to you, and even when you're doing your chapter mind maps, just because all those ideas come to you doesn't mean you have to use all of them. But put them down, because you might use them. It might be used in another book that you have in you, or you might not use it at all, but put it down because it's important. It came to your mind for some reason. And maybe you don't use that particular thought ever, but that particular thought made you think of another one that you do use. So your thoughts are super important to put down. As I started to say earlier, I like this method because I feel freer in it. I don't feel like I have to be organized, and I can just write. And so the problem was, as I'm creating my mind maps, I got my main mind map. Now I'm creating secondary mind maps for chapters and stuff. And in the process, I have to set it aside because I have to do some other work, or, I have to go make dinner or whatever it might be. I come back and I can't find my mind maps. So what I did, and I did this for myself, as I created my mind map book. There's instructions in the front of it that, tell you how to use it. And then there's just mind map templates. The light bulb inside where you put your topic, and then the back side of it is blank. So you can add more thoughts, or, do what you want. And with these, you can do whatever you want with it. And if you look on the workbook, I have a sample in here for you. And to give you ideas, I drew like extra lines on it. Some people like to draw some circles on it, and then they might color code it. They might, take a pink marker, and when they're starting to pull out stuff for their secondary mind maps, they might code everything pink for one. That's one chapter, and everything that they color yellow with a yellow marker, that's another chapter. There's so many different things that you can do. Use your creativity. There's no right or wrong to it. You can do it however you want to. All right. So questions on that? Oh, I wanted to show you something else. So I was creating, people have heard of mind mapping. A lot of people have heard of mind mapping. Some haven't, but I've had authors tell me when I've taught them this, like, oh, I never thought to use it for a book. Mind mapping can be used for just about anything. So I was creating a course, and I had this big roll of paper, and I cut off a huge long piece, and I hung it up in my kitchen, on my kitchen wall, and had it there so that I could just go, and I started making this mind map for the original and notes on it. And it's just, it just goes on and on and on and on for the different modules and so forth. So I mean, that's another thing you can do. I mean, have fun with it. That's why I like this session, because there's so much you can do. You can just let your creativity flow. And whatever style you want to use for mind mapping is, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Whatever fits your personality. You know, if you want to color code stuff, color code. If you want to be organized, be organized. I like the chaos. Only because I feel like I can be just more free to just write it down. I just brain dump. I literally brain dump. I don't have to worry about, I need to put this in this column, or should this go in this column? It could go in both. That blocks my thinking. Instead, I just write it down. I don't care where it goes right now. I just write it down. It's kind of like when you write your rough draft. I tell you, don't worry about grammar and all that kind of stuff. Just write your book. Who cares how it sounds, right? When you're doing your brain dumping, who cares what column it goes in? Who cares what color it's coded? Whatever, just brain dump it. But I understand that we all have our own personalities, and you know, I have a little OCD in some areas of my life. And if you have OCD in something like this, I get it. You know, this might just drive you absolutely crazy. I get it. So like I said, there is no right or wrong to how you want to do your mind mapping. So, okay, questions, comments on any of that?
The Post-it notes is a really good idea. I tried Post-it notes, and what happened with me was that they kind of came all down and got disorganized. And I would try to put them in little piles, and it would drive me crazy going through the little piles, trying to figure out which Post-it note goes where and how. Oh dear. So that was not my forte, even though I like the idea of the colors and the idea of the Post-it notes.
Yep.
So the mind map will work better for me because number one, I can organize it enough so that I'm not a little bit,
Yeah.
discombobulated, but also because I get it in one place. I
Yeah.
don't have as much to keep up with. And that for me is really good because if I put something in a pile, I want to go to the pile, get the folder, get the mind map, get what I'm doing, and be able to retrieve all of it at once. For me, that's better. Then I can go back and get into it and look at it and stuff and decide what I want to do. So I love the mind mapping.
The Post-it notes, and there, Connie, you confirmed my why I don't like Post-it notes. Somebody who likes that process, though, a backup, that probably the next best thing if they don't like this process would be to use the 3x5 cards. And you can try to see if you could find colored 3x5 cards, you know, because they're not going to fall off the wall because you can't stick them on the wall. The problem with these is, again, they're loose, so they could get lost. One could fall off the table and you don't know it. And there it is. You know, a year later, you find it underneath your couch or something, you know. So that's the problem with anything that's loose. But again, it's personal preference, you know. Yeah, and that's the one thing I like about doing it with pen and paper is it is all in one place. You don't have to go and try to make sure you've grabbed all of your cards. It's all right here in one glance. And so that I feel like, I mean, and again, it's just personal, but I feel like this is probably the best of all of them. I mean, other than if you like the mind mapping software, I'm one of these that I like technology because it can make some things easier, but I hate having to spend my entire life on my computer. And so I would rather write it out than having to sit at my computer. And I mean, I sit at it enough and I have enough back problems as it is without adding how many more hours on the computer. So that's, you know, that's me personally. And my husband, he likes everything on the computer. So we're quite opposite that way.
Oh, and by the way, do we get your book on Amazon then?
Do have it available for sale through my website. Because it's spiral bound, I don't have it on Amazon. I would have to set it up differently, and I just haven't taken the time to do that. You can get it at yourinspiredbooks.com. books. All right. Well, I want to give you just a couple minutes to do the first exercise, which is to start mind mapping in your workbook. If you didn't print out the workbook, you can just use a piece of paper or your notebook, whatever, and just give it a try. And we'll just do this for a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and go on to the next. Just start writing down some ideas for one of the book ideas that you think that you want to do. Right, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, time is up. Any questions or comments on the mind mapping?
My pencil wouldn't stop writing.
I love it. I love it. That's why I love teaching this one, because I think it's so fun. I just have fun doing it. You know, I don't know.
Oh, it kept going and going.
Good. That's what mind mapping is. You just start thinking of all these ideas, and I love it. So good.
Well, I really like writing with pen and paper, but I tend to write notes in a lot of different notebooks. I have one at work, and I have one at home, and I have one in Pennsylvania, I started making notes on my phone and Samsung Notes, but then I forget to look back at them sometimes. So I do need a place to kind of collect, or maybe some like small notebooks to carry around, so that I put the same notes into this, into the same repository. But if I'm actually working on like an event and I'm sitting like you are with a board in front of me, I do I would tape up my post-it notes so I can still move them around but not lose them. Or use the marker board, to do things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm always on the move, so
Yeah.
I need a more portable method of doing it, and maybe it's index cards in my purse that I can, put in a box or something. I don't know.
Well, you
Or I
raise a
have to do
good
better with
point.
the notes.
Yeah, you raise a good point, because that's, like I said, I like to, one of the reasons I created this book, I created it for myself, for one, so that I never lose my mind maps again. It's on my shelf, and I ever want to find my mind maps, there they are. Ever want to go back and look at, well, what book ideas do I have? Everything is right here. Like I said, my first mind map, that's the first book I ever wrote. Never dreamed I'd ever write a book. I want that mind map as a remembrance of what God brought me through. And I can't find it right now. It's in this office somewhere. I think I put it in a safe place. I moved it from where it was, and now I can't find my safe place. So, but that's why I like them all in one place. So if you want to use a notebook or something like that, that's good. But here's the thing. Life happens. You're driving down the road, you're at the grocery store, and boom, Holy Spirit's dumping all this stuff in your brain. What are you going to do? Well, there's a couple things. You can take out your phone and just quickly record it. You can, if you have, put notes on it, or if you have a little tiny notebook or whatever you can put in your purse, pull that out and quick write it down. Not while you're driving, but but that's gonna happen. And so you have to figure out a way to quickly get those written down before you forget about them. And then when you get home, add them to your mind map. Or, if you have a notebook like this or something that you just take with you wherever you go, like if you have a great big purse and you can shove it in there, you could do that. Or, a smaller notebook, whatever, wherever you're going to do it. And that's one reason why mind map apps are nice, but the problem with mind map apps is, what if your phone dies? What if your computer dies? What if you have no electricity, or the internet goes down? You're reliant on that. Pen and paper, it's always not a problem, right? You always got pen and paper. So, you do have that problem. But like I said, you just got to figure out a way. Okay, so if I'm out on the run and a thought comes to me, how am I going to record it? So then when I get back home, I can add it to my main mind map. And however you choose to do that is going to be up to you. It's good.